Hey, what's up guys? So welcome to my guide for newer players coming into HOTS 2.0. Now, I did grind out pretty hard when the game first came out. During preseason, we got rank 1, and then during season 1, I guess I just didn't play it. Probably a new game came out during that time. Then season 2 came around, I rolled and got diamond 3. But keep in mind that you only need over a 50% win rate to actually climb in this game. Just due to how the algorithm kind of works in the game. As long as you're at least at over 50%, you'll be pretty high in the game. But I haven't really played that much in this season. I'm still trying to grind it out. I still need to finish off my placements, but like I said, I haven't played in a while. A lot of you guys keep on asking me, hey dude, do you have a guide for newer players? And anyways, I figured I'd make a guide video so you guys can get a better understanding of what heroes you should and should not try out in the early games. Because if you're losing these early games, it's going to discourage you from playing. I understand that. But anyways, let me go ahead and actually go over the heroes that I can recommend for you newer players. Now, as soon as you start out with the game, you'll get these gems. You'll get 100 gems. And there is a section under featured where you can buy one of these bundles. Now, I already bought the Assassin bundle. You have 4 different bundles you can choose from, and they'll give you a bunch of heroes. They'll give you actually 20 heroes for free, which is amazing because back in the day you didn't have this at all. So with the introduction of 2.0, you get to choose what kind of path you want, although there is one that is a flex, so it's got variety essentially is what it is. But I'm here to go over the best ones, in my opinion, for newer players. Now, what I mean by newer players is not only players that are coming from another MOBA, but just an easy character to play if someone's never played a MOBA before. These are just what I recommend. Also, in addition to that, I'm going to link the site down below in the description box, which is HOTS Logs. And these are the heroes that are seeing the most win percentage. You can go by popularity. Now, keep in mind some heroes might be super good at winning, but their pick rate is super low. Like, for example, Lost Vikings is usually in that category where they have a really high win rate. Now, at this patch, they're under 50%. But keep in mind, the popularity of some heroes is really low. So because you see a hero that has maybe a low or a high win rate, it could simply be due to there's only one player that's really good at them. But this is a really great site to know who's seeing the most play. You can also see who's getting banned the most if you decide to go in ranked. What's interesting with this is apparently Gal is not as good as Tro here, which is a 2-character hero. I don't even know how this is possible, but anyways, nonetheless, it's just a great site that you guys can use in future patches. Once things get patched, a lot of times some heroes will see less play and some heroes will see more play. But I just wanted to mention that before I went into my discussion of what heroes I can recommend to you guys that are, again, newer players to the game. But anyways, first off, like I said, when you start out the game, you'll get 100 gems, which allow you to buy any of these bundles. You can choose whatever one you want, but you can only purchase one. You could technically make other accounts and try out all the heroes. Also, when you go to play, and you go and select your hero. Let's go to just quick match here so I can show you the heroes. There are these little icons right here, which is the Heroes of the Storm logo. That means they're on rotation, so feel free to try those out. Get those heroes to level 5 because you'll get 500 gold for each hero that you get to level 5. You can only play these for free during the rotation, but definitely try out all the heroes. I definitely recommend you guys to try out everything. But anyways, as far as the heroes go, let me go ahead and go over the heroes in the Assassin bundle. Now, when you purchase this bundle, it's going to come with more than these heroes that I'm going to be listing, but I wanted to go over what I consider easy heroes for you guys to start out with, and I'll give you guys just kind of a brief rundown on the heroes. Keep in mind, though, that I'm not going to be giving out builds for each individual hero in this video. I'll definitely give you guys some builds in the future, but keep in mind, builds change all the time because through patches, things do change. But I don't claim to be no pro at the game. I mean, I only hit diamond, but I was rank 1 during preseason, which wasn't that really wasn't that hard to get. But at the same time, I'm not the most up-to-date player on this game, but a lot of you guys wanted my feedback and wanted to know what heroes are good, so I'm here to deliver it for you guys. So anyways, starting out with the Assassin bundle, the first hero that comes in this bundle that I'm going to be recommending, I think these are in alphabetical order, by the way. So this is in the Assassin bundle. Falsten. keep in mind, you can't see the name, but his name's Falstead. You'll see this section called difficulty, and it'll go like easy, medium, hard, very hard. Don't always think that just because it's difficult for some player, it's easier for some players, and sometimes when it's easier for some players, it's harder for others. But again, you guys asked my opinion on it, and I think Falstead is very easy to play. In a nutshell, he has the ability to go around on the map, and he has this ability called Lightning Rod, which is a large AoE around him, essentially, and as long as they're staying inside the circle, they're just going to keep on taking a bunch of damage. You can outplay a lot of people simply by just hitting one button, and if they're a lower HP hero like Tracer, and they've already used Recall, and you can space really well, you can kill people with one button, pretty much, and in addition to that, like your autos. But Falstead, definitely easy hero, and he's got good mobility, essentially, is what it really comes down to, as far as initiating some of the objectives as well. But next up, Zul'jin is another hero that I can say is relatively easy. This hero benefits off of having lower health. The lower health he has, he's going to be essentially outputting more DPS. His passive makes it so attacks heal, or they attack 1% faster for every 1% of maximum health missing. So essentially, when you're in combat, as long as you're lower in health, you're going to essentially do more damage. And you get value out of him both ways. If you have large HP, obviously you're going to win the fight. If you have lower HP, you can potentially win the game with his ult in like a fight, because he has an ultimate, which actually makes it so you take no damage for 4 seconds, which is actually huge. This is what makes him so good. And you get a lot of value for him simply by just autoing, and if they, again, hit you, you're going to eventually just do more damage. I think he's relatively easy to play. Keep in mind, though, there are certain times where a composition can be built to counter auto attackers, and at that point, Zul'jin, yeah, he's not so good. But again, we won't get into like all these other circumstances. It's just like a base little guideline for you guys. I don't want to overwhelm you guys too much with like, oh, if they've got 2 auto attackers, you got to go Ortanis or other compositions to kind of counter some stuff. But that's more so for team play. But anyways, I can also recommend Vala. She's just an auto attacker is really what it comes down to. She outputs one of the highest DPSs in the game, just because she's very consistent with her damage. She also has an ultimate that can disrupt, that can stun things. So if they're going a certain build where they have like everything allocated into a protect one hero composition, which can be an Abathur, Illidan composition where they all protect one hero, or if there is an ultimate that needs to be channeled similar to the ETC's ultimate, which makes it so everyone can't really play. He basically goes in and he does a thing called Mosh Pit. You can interrupt. So she has a little bit of flex in that. Also, she has a little bit of flex with doing damage with multi-shot rather than autos, but she definitely puts one of the highest amount of DPSs in the game. But she is a little bit straightforward for the most part. With the exception of the escape. Now the escape can be, it's just a movement ability, but you need to make sure you're dodging certain things, because Vala dies very fast because she does have movement speed, but once she gets hit and let's say you get interrupted at a vault, it can really be bad. But for the most part, I would say she's relatively easy play. She's basically an auto attacker in the game. The next hero that I recommend in the assassin category is Raynar. He just auto attacks, and when he becomes low in health, he has a passive to. Oh, hold on. Well, okay. He has. Oh, it's actually okay. It's basically a passive. So when you're below 30% health, you heal for a bunch of life. So basically, you can be relatively aggressive with him, and then once someone comes to gank your lane, essentially you can just walk right out of it, and then it goes on cooldown for 40 seconds. But that in a nutshell is Raynar. Again, I don't want to get into too much depth on every single skill in this video. I can go in depth on like individual heroes later on, but for the most part, I kind of want to give you guys like a basic understanding. So he just autos, and he makes the lane push relatively quick. Next up, Lunara. She basically is dot damage, so essentially she's an auto attacker. Most of the assassins that I would consider easy are basically just auto attackers. She can move faster. Well, I guess it's not shown here. But anyways, basically her passive is that she moves faster than other heroes. Now she doesn't have a mount, but because of this, I wish it just went into her. Like, does it? Okay, is it under? I guess it's not under here. But anyways, she moves faster than other heroes, so basically she's able to catch up to most heroes. If they have something that makes them escape, then yeah. But basically she does a lot of damage, but it's like small damage over time. Basically, all of her autos are dots, and then you can increase the dots so you can slow them down, and she's an auto attacker. But she does move pretty fast, and a lot of people that have skill shots can't really hit her very well because they're not used to her like awkward movement. Her movement is faster and then slower, but then it's faster and slower, but overall it equals to more movement. But as far as the assassin category goes, I find those ones to be the easiest ones that are in the assassin bundle. Keep in mind, a lot of players will have different opinions on what they consider easy, but for the most part, those are what I consider easy. Most of the mages are what I consider more difficult, especially for a player that hasn't played a MOBA before. It's much easier just to right-click on a target and kind of let it die, rather than trying to use abilities and hitting them and knowing all the heroes, like this hero can reflect an ability or this hero can absorb an ability. There's a lot of other things that you're just going to have to learn, and you're going to have a better time, at least in my personal opinion, if you're winning a game versus losing a game early on. But that's it for the assassin category. That's what you get in the bundles. This is not all of the assassins that I would consider easy. It's just, again, in the bundle. Next up, the flex section. So there's characters from a lot of different sections in here. But we're going to go over Brightwing first. So Brightwing is just an AoE healer. Well, let's just type it in. Brightwing. So Brightwing just heals in an AoE. They can also polymorph, and they also have no mount, but they can teleport to a player. So it is a... even though this one says hard, I find it to be relatively easy. They get a blink heal, or they can push things away to steal objectives. But for the most part, I find it to be very easy. You just go and stick with your team. There's a talent that I can really recommend early on for players that are new to the game, is to increase the range of your healing. So basically, you just keep on healing. No one will really complain too much about you not healing them, because if they need to be healed, they just walk up to you. You don't have to press any buttons to heal. That's why I consider Brightwing easy. Again, I know it says it's hard, but you guys asked for my opinion, and I think Brightwing is an excellent healer in the flex section that you get for free. Diablo is another character. Now, this one's not a healer. This guy would be considered a tank slash bruiser, but he gets relatively strong as long as you don't die. So you passively gain these shards by just having heroes killed or minions dying in the lanes, and basically he gets stronger and stronger, but when you die, you lose these souls, and these souls can add to your, I guess I want to say, like, sustain, because you have a higher health pool. But basically, Diablo is a tank in the game, and I just think he's overall pretty solid, and he's fun to play too for a tank. I think he's very fun to play. Next up, I don't consider her very fun to play, but she's probably one of the most tanky tanks in the game, although she doesn't do much damage, but that's really kind of the point of a tank, is to tank. She has a passive ability to give herself a bunch of extra health, essentially, but it's more so shields, so they go away after 4 seconds. But in a nutshell, that's Johanna. Obviously, they have more abilities, but I'm just going to give you like a brief synopsis. Basically, she's really annoying to fight because she just doesn't die. She's if you want to play tank, she is literally like the best tank in the game in terms of absorbing damage. Next up in the flex category, I consider her very easy to play, but I don't really think she's the most strong hero in the game. But again, you guys asked me what heroes I consider good for beginners. This hero basically heals by prioritizing the lowest health ally. And keep in mind, that's not... well, you have to keep in mind that I believe it's based off of a percentage of health. So someone that has very large health, even though the integer would be smaller or larger depending on the hero, it still prioritizes by percentage. Because some heroes have a lot less HP versus like a tank will have usually a larger health pool. Therefore, if you're 50% tank, 50%, well, I guess let's put it this way. If you have 30% on a tank, you might have maybe 80% of health on like a DPS. So just keep that in mind. But it prioritizes the hero with the lowest health. And then her passive is just to gain movement speed. And she can also blind heroes. So that could be really good against things that auto attack a lot. But again, I don't feel like she's the most meta. But she's very common in quick play, just because I feel like, you know how like in Overwatch a lot of guys would be like, oh, I'll play with my girlfriend, girlfriend go play Mercy. It tends to be Lily in this game. But anyways, next up, Morales. Morales is a healer, and she basically just puts a beam on someone and they don't die. Because she basically, I guess easy example would be Mercy. There we go. She just throws out a beam, and it just increases that target's health and just keeps on healing them. Obviously, you want to stun her, make it so she has a hard time, but she'll definitely be sitting further back. But that is another character in the flex category that I think is pretty good and relatively easy to play. Next up, Rehgar. I don't know if I spell Rehgar. It's Reg. Okay, there we go. So Rehgar over here is a support that can transform into a wolf. He's much more fun to play. I think he's probably one of the more fun supports to play. How his heal works is it heals in a chain, so it bounces off your own allies. And then he has the ability to... He has one of the burstiest heals in the game for his ultimate. So after a second, they'll heal for like an extraordinary amount. But it does take a second, so if sometimes people see that the character's low enough, they'll try to fully burst them before that goes off. But... he also has a slow, but pretty much he's just a really overall solid, good little healer that heals multiple people. And the chain heal is not a skill shot. You just heal and it just auto heals everyone else in the range. Next up, for the flex category, Zul'jin, which I basically already went over. Some of these are going to overlap in certain categories, but Zul'jin, again, is the character where when you're lower in health, you're going to be outputting more DPS. But that's it for the flex category. For the support / specialist, we already went over Brightwing, but Brightwing good in that category as well. Johanna, which is again just a solid tank. Lily, which we just went over, which is the Panda Grill, and she just prioritizes the lowest health target. But I think Brightwing just sees in NA Brightwing sees a lot more play. But again, use that website that I'll be linking down below because things can change all the time. Maybe one day Lily will be good. Well, I mean, better than I guess I look at her now. I look at her like, oh my gosh, we got a Lily on our team, rip the game. Anyways, next up, Morales. She's also in the support / specialist category, but we already went over her. Now Lucio, this guy is probably one of the best healers in the game. Highest ban rate as of right now. Keep in mind, all these things can change in the future, but definitely can recommend Lucio. Because he's relatively easy to play. Similar to Brightwing, you don't actually need to push a button to heal. You just need to keep it on heal. You can go in between heal and speed up. So basically, speeding up lets you initiate and disengage in combat. And on top of that, he's relatively fun to play. You cannot boop people off like you can in Overwatch, but you can push them into things. He's just overall really solid. Probably one of the best healers in the game. Not necessarily just because of his heals. The heals relatively mediocre, I'll be honest. But the main thing that he allows is this speed boost, because it boosts at the speed of all your allies, which lets you disengage and engage. Like, if your enemy team is ulting, you just go speed boost and you walk away, you come in, and you guys all got your ult still. Really, really good stuff. But next up, Malf is another healer in this category. I feel like he's better when you have a team that can follow up on things, because his ability to root people, basically, he's just, I would say he's like a standard-ish healer. The thing that makes him different, though, he has a passive that is activated, which you can give someone 20% of their maximum mana. So if you're playing a team that has multiple mages, this is an excellent ability just to keep them in the fight. Now, you can't use this on yourself, though. And apparently you can't use heroes that don't use mana, so if you accidentally use it on a hero, because not all heroes use mana in this game. Some of them have a different resource. But yeah, that's basically what makes Malf. But, oh, I also wanted to mention, most of the healers, if you go to their abilities or talents, you have the options to go for like a damage build. 90% of the time, your team is going to be upset if you go for that, but there's a lot of times where if you have two healers in the game, people will go some damage ult, or they'll go for like a silence ult. A lot of times you will see the Malfurion go for this instead, which silences everyone, making it so they cannot use abilities. And Uther can stun everyone, and yeah, so keep in mind, generally you want the heal ultimate. On Malf specifically, like, it's not that big of a deal, but like on Lily, it's not the best idea to go for the water dragon. But anyways, next up, Zarya in this category. I think Zarya is really good, pretty easy to play too. You throw a bear on yourself, start absorbing. One little quick tip that I can give you guys with Zarya is in the very beginning of the game, as long as their entire team isn't like under the tower, go under the tower, start absorbing the tower shots, start gaining energy early on. You can tell your partner to go ahead and tank the tower, and you're going to go ahead and shield. Make sure you actually shield them, otherwise they're going to get upset. But basically Zarya throws down bears. She's very, very strong still in the game. Very powerful character in that category. But that's it for the support / specialists. And next up we have tanks / bruisers. So Muradin, he's a pretty good tank. Now what's really important with him is positioning, but I still think he's really easy to play. But basically he's a tank, and he can sustain himself really well. So when you're below 40% life, but there's a talent that makes it so while below 60% life, you start gaining HP as long as you haven't taken damage for a while. So it lets you engage really hard, play pretty dumb, and then you can just go back, you get healed up to 60% of your life, because pretty much everyone gets what's called third win, which increases your HP threshold on the passive to 60% rather than 40. So you're always going to be at pretty much 60% HP if you just disengage for a few seconds. But that makes Muradin relatively strong. He also has like a hop, he's got a thing that can slow their attack speed, and then he has a stun, which basically makes him good. Like this, without a stun I would never play this guy. But anyways, he is a tank that can initiate. He also has the ability on an ultimate to push an enemy hero into your team, which means that you're going to usually jump, push an enemy into your team, then jump and then try to stun them, kind of catch someone off guard. But some of the other tanks in the game, they can actually get a hero and basically catch someone out. He can do this with his ultimate, but with the exception of that, like, he doesn't catch too many people out and like securing kills with just Stormbolt. It usually requires like his whole team to kind of be there. There are other tanks like Stitches, which can hook an enemy and then they kind of bring him back to the team by using like an ultimate, by like eating them and stuff like that. But what's really important is stunning multiple people and stunning the correct target with this. But yeah, overall, you get a lot of value for like how hard he is to play. And by that I mean, like, I don't think he's very hard. Next up, Leoric, which is another hero you get in the tanks and bruisers. He's pretty good. How he works is when he dies, he comes back really quick because he becomes a ghost, and then his abilities heal him, and then he gets to resurrect himself faster. That's how he becomes good. He's good for getting the objectives early on, specifically on certain maps. Like Hanamura, I've seen a lot of Leorics just kind of stall. They'll die and they'll come back, and they kind of just stall it out for the team. That's what he can be kind of good for. He can also lock down other heroes, basically creating a terrain where they can't really go over, and locks them down. Keep in mind there's some heroes that have blinks or other abilities, like Genji can dash right out of it. So this is a very good way to kind of lock down certain heroes. He also has like another ability to hit, but at its core, he doesn't have any like stuns. He has an ability to drain health. This is really good against targets that have very large HP because it deals a percentage of their damage or health, and then you can slow them down. But for the most part, Leoric doesn't catch too many people out, as he is more of a tank slash sustaining hero. That's what I would consider him as. Next up we have Sonya. Sonya is pretty decent for getting the camps, like the jungle camps in this game. I think she's relatively easy to play. Although usually people get Wrath of the Berserker. The other ultimate can be pretty good, but she uses a different resource generation. Instead of like mana, she has what's called Fury, and it just builds up by taking damage or dealing damage, and it gives you 10% extra movement speed. But I think she's pretty, like, overall well-rounded. Like, she can solo camp. She's good at trying to initiate certain fights because she has an ability to stun them. So if you can actually stun them and then maybe follow up with like multiple seismic slams, or maybe if you ult and the guy's out of position, you can guarantee the kill. Then when the actual fight still happens, you can potentially still have Wrath of the Berserker up, because it extends for 1 second for every 10 fewer gain while in that mode. But overall, just a really solid melee DPS slash, I would consider her a bruiser, so she can take damage and she can deal a decent amount of damage. I used to really like playing her, but again, certain times after certain patches, it makes me like not want to play certain heroes. Varian, really strong hero. He has the ability to become a tank. He starts out, he's considered a multi-class in the game. So he can be a tank, he can be a bruiser, or he can be an assassin in the game. But really what makes him good is his taunt ability. That's 99% of the time when you see him seeing play, it's with this taunt ability. So he gains a maximum health increase of 30, and he also gains 15 armor. But what it makes it do is it forces the hero to attack. So if they have a mage or someone that you really want to pop fast, that's what Varian is really good for. He's just good for going in, you charge in, then you slow them, and then you taunt them, and it forces their healer just to auto attack you for 1.25 seconds, at which point they are not healing and they're not using their abilities, and usually you try to pop them as quickly as possible. He's really tanky. Like, he's probably one of the tankiest because he also has this ability that makes it so all basic attacks do 0 damage for 1.25 seconds. There's also talent that a lot of people get that makes it so he takes no damage for that duration. And it gets multiple charges, and it can be really dirty when you stack it with overpower, which makes it so it can be refreshed even faster. So basically, he's a really good tank that can taunt. Next up, Zol. I was actually surprised they actually put this in the bundle. Oh, whoops, if I could spell Zol. So Zol over here is a specialist that summons skeletons, and he can also go in for ganks. Basically, he throws down this prism prison, and basically they're rooted for 1.75 seconds. And later on, you can get a talent that summons skeletons right on the target. And basically, I think he's enjoyable. I think he's got a very large health pool, and he's very forgiving because he also has a passive. Essentially, well, it's you just get it for free. Well, it's an ability. Okay, you activate it and you gain a shield. It's basically like a full another ability, and he gains a shield equal to 25% of his maximum health, which is already a pretty good, like, his base stats are already pretty decent, and then on top of that you get 25%. And then when the bone armor blows up, or well, level 1 you get to choose what it does. When the bone armor expires, you can make it deal damage, you can make it so it slows, you can make it so you evade all basic attacks. But yeah, I like the one that blows up, but I think he's just overall really solid. And he's fun to play too. And then lastly, we have Thrall for what I would consider easy in the tanks and bruiser category. You do have to land as Wolf, which is the root in his kit. But basically, he is melee, but he has this chain lightning, which is really good for contesting objectives because you can make it so it arcs and it bounces off the correct targets because of range, and you can contest objectives really well with him. In addition to that, he has a really good ult that can split the enemy, and also like split up where they positioning, and then it also stuns them, and it does damage as well. And then there's also a slow that you can get, and then it also deals small damage, but the damage on it is really mediocre. For the most part, it's just used to slow everyone. Most people usually get this because it can position your team much better, and again, it does stun them. And then after every few attacks, you are healed for a decent amount. So he has a decent amount of sustain, so he's okay for like kind of soloing a lane and getting used to it. I think he's overall a pretty well-rounded character if you're familiar with MOBAs. You can pick him up and you'll have a lot of fun with him. I think he's really fun to play. But yeah, there we go. I went over most of the heroes. I went over all the heroes that I considered easy to play. Keep in mind, this is like, from my own opinion, if you guys felt like I missed out on any heroes that are easy to play that are also in the bundles, because obviously there can be other heroes, but for newer players, I'm just going to recommend the ones that are in the bundles because that's where you're going to start out with. And later on, I'll try to make more in-depth guides for each individual hero, but keep in mind all these things can change later down the line because of patches and stuff like that. But you guys wanted a good little starter video, and this is what I can recommend you guys to play, and I guess kind of briefly describe some of the heroes. But guys, have some fun. I'm gonna climb to Masters hopefully before the season ends, and we'll get the... Oh, also, when you climb in the rank section, keep in mind that you do get rewards at the end. Oh, is it mounts? Because in the first season, I'll show you guys what you guys can get for rewards. Is it a beast? There's a... is it element? Oh, it's the... There's the... Okay, so it's the epic elemental wolf. I believe this is what you get for at least achieving... Is it diamond? In the first season, I remember they have rewards, so there is an incentive to play the game in ranked and try to win your games, so you're getting more points that can give you extra mounts. I don't remember exactly what other ones there were that I've unlocked. I don't know if you can even unlock these anymore, can you? Oh, it doesn't even show you what the cost is. Like, you have these things called shards that can unlock things too, but yeah, definitely try playing ranked, and hopefully this will encourage some of you guys to try out the other heroes that I mentioned and give you guys like a brief way to see what heroes are easy. And like I said, if you guys felt like I missed out on any, definitely let me know down below. But you guys wanted to know what I thought on some of the heroes that were included, and those are what I consider the easy heroes and good heroes for beginners. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the battlegrounds.